Last month on Twitter, I came across a few tweets that sparked my interest in this video essay. Do you know how bad things have to be for people to be abstaining from sex just so they won't be treated like actual meat? I've had multiple conversations with women saying they wish they had more sex, like they're going months, even up to a whole year, without it, due to how precarious dating/relationships are and how daunting it is navigating even casual intimacy. I'm not going to assume that everybody knows what celibacy means. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using celibacy and abstinence interchangeably. I'm using both terms to refer to people who are not having sex while dating. Now, celibacy can be both voluntary or involuntary. Involuntary celibates are frequently known on the internet as incels. For the purpose of this essay, I'm focusing on people who are voluntarily celibate, so not incels. Finally, I will say that this video essay is focusing on heterosexual relationships, as most of the information I could find pertained to those relationships in particular. Last year, there was an article in The Guardian titled "The Rise of Voluntary Celibacy." In the article, the author mentions the US National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior. This survey found that from 2009 to 2018, there was an increased number of young people who reported no sexual activity. This applied to people who were both partnered and alone. Looking at the statistics for men first, in 2009, 28.8% of young men reported not having sex. By 2018, that figure had increased to 44.2%. For women, in 2009, 49.5% of young women reported not having sex. By 2018, that number had increased to 74% of young women. In Rethinking Sex, Christine Emba states, "The leading sex research journals consistently find that people are having sex less frequently than they used to. Young adults in their 20s and early 30s are more likely to be celibate in adulthood and are on track to have fewer sexual partners over the course of their lives than Gen Xers or even their boomer parents." Julian's article dubs it the sex recession. So it does seem that young people are having less sex than they did in the past. And this appears to be the same for both men and women. So the question remains, why is this the case? There's a Seinfeld episode for everything. In season 8, episode 9, George has to abstain from sex as the woman he's dating tells him she can't have sex for 6 weeks as she has mono. As the episode progresses, George begins reading books, answering questions correctly on Jeopardy, and speaking Portuguese. Overall, his intelligence greatly increases. He also reports developing much greater intimacy with the women he's been seeing. Jerry claims that George's increase in intelligence is due to abstaining from sex, alleging that the part of George's mind that is normally focused on sex is now focused on other, more useful things. Obviously, Seinfeld is not real life. However, people on social media have made similar claims, with those who practice it claiming it has improved their focus, their mental health, and their energy. So are young people choosing to abstain from sex in order to work on improving themselves, or are there other reasons involved? In the US National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior that was previously mentioned, the authors discuss several possible reasons as to why young people are having less sex. Reasons include gaming and social media taking time and precedence, more awareness of asexuality as an identity, a decline in alcohol use, an increase in rough sex practices that may be frightening or off-putting to many, we'll discuss this one more later in the video, and lower incomes. Louise Perry, author of The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, makes a slightly different argument. She states that many young heterosexual women now feel as if they have to run the gauntlet of hookup culture if they want to have any kind of sexual relationship. I think a lot of them, quite fairly, would rather not have any sexual relationship at all. Hookup culture involves a relationship based on sexual intimacy with little or no emotional connection. In The Will to Change, Bell Hooks defines patriarchy as a political social system that insists that males are inherently dominating, superior to everything and everyone deemed weak, especially females, and endowed with the right to dominate and rule over the weak, and to maintain that dominance through various forms of psychological terrorism and violence. In Rethinking Sex, Christine Emba states, "The new feminism of the 1990s and 2000s was simply to embrace whatever the patriarchy had already deemed valuable. Sex on demand, lack of emotion, a quick climb up the economic ladder, and then make it the property of women instead of just men. The best expression of women's freedom was the ability to make sex objects out of others and reap the material benefits. Dependency was pathologized as weakness, and connection was seen as risk." She ends the chapter by saying, "Equality between women and men now looks like equal opportunity for women to be equal to the worst sort of man, cavalier about sex and disdainful of real feelings." There is also the issue of the type of sex that young people are having in these casual relationships. Louise has argued that the influence and availability of pornography has had a destructive effect on sexual culture. In The Right to Sex, Amia Srinivasan asks, "Could it be that pornography doesn't merely depict the subordination of women, but actually makes it real?" These are not new arguments or concerns. In the feminist movement of the 1970s, there grew an anti-porn movement, with notable anti-porn feminists including Andrea Dworkin and Catharine MacKinnon. They argued that pornography was the graphic, sexually explicit subordination of women. In her 1993 book, Only Words, Catharine MacKinnon states that porn silences women, taking away their ability to testify to their own sexual experiences. She also says that porn teaches men to hear yes when women say no. It also teaches men to disbelieve women who say they were harassed or raped, and it teaches men to see resistance as coyness and coyness as invitation. In September 2023, France's High Council for Equality Between Women and Men prepared a report for the French government. The report said that after over 18 months of hearings and reviewing millions of videos on the biggest international pornography sites, women caricatured with the worst sexist and racist stereotypes are humiliated, objectified, dehumanized, assaulted, tortured, subjected to treatment that is contrary both to human dignity and French law. The report said, "The massive consumption of pornography from a young age reinforces rape culture." I do plan to make a separate video that gets more into the pornography industry, but I do think it's important to raise some of the reasons why feminists have issues with pornography. Interestingly enough, women are not the only ones opting out of having sex because of the rough nature of casual sex. In his essay, Patriarchal Sex, Robert Jensen says, "I am afraid of sex as sex is defined by the dominant culture, as practiced all around me and projected onto magazine pages, billboards, and movie screens. I am afraid of sex because I am afraid of domination, cruelty, violence, and death. I am afraid of sex because sex has hurt me and hurt lots of people I know, and because I have hurt others with sex in the past. I know that there are people out there who have been hurt by sex in ways that are beyond words, who have experienced a depth of pain that I will never fully understand. And I know there are people who are dead because of sex. Yes, I am afraid of sex. How could I not be? What can be done?" In her book, Feminist Theory from Margin to Center, Bell Hooks states, "When primary emphasis is placed on ending sexual oppression rather than on sexual liberation, it is possible to envision a society in which it is as much an expression of sexual freedom to choose not to participate in sexual activity as it is to choose to participate." While it is easy to point out the flaws in our current system when it comes to dating and our sexual culture, what is much harder to envision is a new sexual landscape full of love, intimacy, respect, and connection. That is what we, as the next generation of feminists, can help to construct. Thank you very much for watching this video. I see YouTube as a way to engage in conversations, not a one-way street. So I would love to hear in the comments any ideas or concerns that people may have. Much love. Bye.